Okay, I want you to picture something. It's the 17th century in Europe. For centuries, the world made sense because powerful authorities like the church told you how it worked. But now, that's all starting to crumble. New scientific discoveries are popping up, and the focus is shifting away from the heavens and turning inward to the human mind. This created a huge crisis, a real crisis of certainty, forcing thinkers to ask a super fundamental question. In a world where everything is suddenly up for debate, how can we know anything for sure? That single question, well, it was about to kick off a revolution in thought. And let's bring it home for a second. How can you be absolutely 100% certain that you aren't dreaming right now? I mean, really think about it. The feelings, the sounds, the thoughts you have in a dream, they feel totally real when you're in it. So what's the definitive proof that this moment right here isn't just an incredibly detailed, elaborate dream? This is the exact puzzle that got the whole rationalist movement started. So, with all the old authorities losing their grip, philosophers started looking in a new direction. They looked inward. The next great frontier for discovery, they figured, wasn't some far-off land. No, it was the human mind itself. They became convinced that the key to finding real, unshakable knowledge wasn't in faith, wasn't in tradition, but in the pure, untapped power of human reason. And the first major figure on this quest, our guide, is René Descartes. Now, Descartes was a genius, an incredible mathematician, but he was also completely haunted by doubt. He just saw contradictions and uncertainty everywhere he looked. And he became obsessed, truly obsessed with finding just one, single, undeniable truth that could act as a solid foundation for everything else. So to find this one truth, he came up with a pretty radical system. He called it the method of doubt. The plan sounds simple, but it was extreme. He would systematically reject anything and everything that could possibly be doubted. I mean, if a belief had even the tiniest little crack of uncertainty in it, he was going to throw it out and treat it as if it were completely false. So, what's the first thing on the chopping block? Our own senses. Descartes argued, pretty convincingly, that they fool us all the time. You know, think about an optical illusion, or how a spoon looks bent when you put it in a glass of water. His logic was, if our senses can trick us even once, we can't trust them to be the bedrock of absolute truth. So out they go. But he didn't stop there. Oh no. He took it to a much deeper level, right back to that question we started with. He thought, well, every single thought I have when I'm awake, I could also have when I'm asleep. There's no foolproof way to tell the difference between being awake and dreaming. So he decided he would just assume that his entire life, everything he thought was real, was just one long, complicated dream. And right here, in this pit of total doubt where nothing is certain, he finds it, his breakthrough. He realized that even if he's dreaming, or even if some evil demon is tricking him about everything, he is still thinking. The very act of doubting his own existence was proof that he, as a thinking thing, had to exist. This led to his legendary, unshakable truth. I think, therefore I am. This was it. This was his foundation. All right, so Descartes gives us our starting point. Our own reason is the one thing we can truly trust. The next thinker we're going to look at, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, took that foundation and decided to build a whole system on top of it, a way to organize all possible knowledge. He said, it's not just that there are truths, there are two totally different kinds of truth. Leibniz made this really crucial distinction. On one side, you've got truths of reason. These are things that are true just by their very definition. You don't need to do an experiment, you just need logic. Their opposite is a flat-out contradiction. Then, on the other side, you have truths of fact. For these, you actually have to go out into the world and check the evidence to see if they're true or not. Let's make this super simple. All triangles have three sides, is a truth of reason. Why? Because the very definition of a triangle is a shape with three sides. This statement is true by logic alone. Now, what about the package was delivered today? Well, that's a truth of fact. It might be true, it might be false. The only way to know for sure is to go check the front door. See the difference? Now, Leibniz didn't just stop at classifying truth. He got way more ambitious and dove into what reality itself is made of. He proposed this wild idea that the basic building blocks of the universe aren't physical atoms, but these things he called monads. He pictured them as these tiny, non-physical centers of force or even consciousness. In his view, everything, and I mean everything, from a rock to your mind was made of these monads, and each one was like a tiny mirror reflecting the entire universe. It's a pretty mind-bending concept. And that brings us to our third rationalist, Benedictus de Spinoza, who took all these ideas about reason and reality and pushed them to their most breathtaking and, frankly, controversial conclusion. So first, let's just remember what most people thought about God back in Spinoza's day. The idea was that God is this infinite, perfect being who created the universe but stands apart from it. Like a painter who creates a painting but isn't the painting itself.
Spinoza looked at that definition and just applied pure, cold logic. He reasoned, okay, if God is truly infinite, then by definition, there can't be anything outside of God, right? Because if the universe were a separate thing, that would create a boundary, a limit on God, which would mean God isn't infinite after all. So the only possible logical conclusion is that God and the universe or nature have to be the exact same thing.
Now, this was an incredibly dangerous idea. Why? Well, think about it. If God is just another word for nature, then you don't need a church or a priest or a holy book to connect with the divine. All you have to do is study and observe the universe. This idea was a direct threat to the power of all organized religion, and it's exactly why Spinoza was kicked out of his own community with this terrifyingly harsh curse. The implication here is just profound. In Spinoza's world, there's no real separation between the sacred and the everyday, between your mind and your body, between the spiritual and the material. It's all just different expressions of one single, infinite divine substance that he simply called God or nature. So let's just pull back for a second and look at the big picture here. We've just gone on a journey through three incredible minds who all started from a place of radical doubt and then used nothing but pure reason to completely rebuild our understanding of what reality even is. This chart really lays it out perfectly. You can see the ambition just growing with each step. It all starts with Descartes, who looks inward to find certainty inside his own mind. Then Leibniz takes that certainty and builds a system for categorizing all knowledge. And finally, Spinoza just blows the whole thing up to a cosmic scale, using that same tool of reason to redefine God and reality itself. It's this beautiful progression from the individual mind to the entire universe. And that right there is the heart of the whole Rationalist Revolution. It's the core belief that the most trustworthy path to real knowledge isn't through our flawed senses or through what some authority figure tells us to believe, but through the logical, deductive power of our very own minds. But this revolution didn't neatly answer everything. In fact, it created brand new, even deeper questions. Descartes' famous split between the mind and the body, it left us with the mind-body problem, something scientists and philosophers are still arguing about today. And Spinoza's idea that we're all just part of one divine thing, that makes you ask some serious questions about free will. These puzzles, born from a crisis of certainty centuries ago, are still at the very heart of what it means to be a thinking, conscious human being. So the next time you have that weird thought and wonder if you're dreaming, you're not just being strange. You're taking part in a 300-year-old revolution,